Welcome back, champions. Today we delve into one of the most timeless and transformative principles in human history: moral integrity, the core of Confucian ethics. What you are about to experience is more than just a philosophical discourse. It is a call to action, a challenge to rise above the noise of the modern world and reconnect with a sense of moral purpose. By the end of this journey, you will come to see that embracing moral integrity, the pillar of Confucian philosophy, is not only essential for personal growth, but also for the betterment of the world around us. Confucius was not merely a thinker, a scholar, or a teacher. He was a beacon of moral clarity in a world often plagued by confusion, greed, and self-interest. His teachings, while deeply rooted in ancient China, transcend time and culture, speaking to the core of what it means to live a life of purpose and virtue. His core message was simple, yet infinitely powerful. Without moral integrity, life loses its compass. A person without integrity is like a ship adrift in a storm, vulnerable to every wave and wind, without direction, purpose, or destination. But what exactly is moral integrity? In Confucian terms, it's more than just being good or telling the truth. Integrity, as understood through Confucius, is the alignment of one's actions with one's moral principles in every facet of life, no matter the cost. It is the unshakable determination to do what is right, even when the right path is the hardest one. Integrity is not just something you show when people are watching. It's who you are when no one else is around. It's the foundation of character, the root of all ethical behavior, and the true measure of a person's worth. In the teachings of Confucius, ren, often translated as humanness or benevolence, sits at the very heart of moral integrity. Ren is not merely an emotion, but a guiding principle that governs how we interact with others. It represents the ideal state of being, where our actions are motivated by compassion, empathy, and a deep understanding of our shared humanity. Confucius believed that living with ren was the highest achievement one could strive for because it required constant self-examination and a commitment to the well-being of others. Yet, in a world that constantly pulls us towards self-interest, how do we cultivate ren? How do we stay grounded in integrity when society often rewards those who abandon their values for success, power, or convenience? Confucius was well aware of these temptations. He understood that the path of integrity is often lonely and difficult, but he also believed that it was the only path worth taking. "The superior man understands what is right," he said. "The inferior man understands what will sell." What does this mean for us today? It means that living with integrity is not about doing what is popular or profitable. It's about doing what is right, even when it's unpopular or costs us something dear. Integrity demands sacrifice, but in return, it offers something far more valuable than wealth or fame. It offers peace of mind. When you live with integrity, you don't have to worry about being caught in a lie because you have nothing to hide. You don't have to fear judgment because your conscience is clear. Integrity allows you to walk through life with your head held high, unburdened by the weight of guilt or deceit. Confucius emphasized this point when he said, "To see what is right and not to do it is want of courage." This is where many fall short, not in knowing what is right, but in having the courage to act on that knowledge. Courage and integrity are intertwined. One cannot exist without the other. Integrity demands that we take a stand, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's risky, and even when it seems that no one else is watching. Yi, another key concept in Confucian ethics, is often translated as righteousness or justice. Yi represents the moral disposition to do what is right in all circumstances. Unlike ren, which focuses on compassion and empathy, Yi is more concerned with the firm, sometimes stern, application of moral principles. It is the ability to make decisions based on ethics rather than personal benefit. Confucius taught that without Yi, Society would crumble under the weight of selfishness and greed. A society lacking in moral integrity is like a body without bones. It cannot stand. It cannot function. To practice yi is to live with a sense of moral responsibility, not only for oneself, but for the greater good. Confucius believed that each of us has a role to play in creating a just society, and that begins with our own actions. He said, "The strength of a nation derives from the integrity of the home." This statement reflects the idea that moral integrity is not just a personal virtue. It is the foundation of a healthy, functioning society. When individuals act with integrity, they create a ripple effect that extends to their families, communities, and ultimately the world. However, living with integrity is not just about adhering to a set of rules or following societal norms. It's about cultivating a sense of 𝐷𝐸, which refers to the rituals, customs, and moral conduct that govern our daily lives. 𝐷𝐸 teaches us that integrity is not only reflected in grand gestures, but in the small, everyday actions that define who we are. It's about showing respect to others, fulfilling our duties, and living in harmony with those around us. Confucius believed that by practicing 𝐷𝐸, we cultivate a sense of discipline and order in our lives, which in turn fosters a society rooted in justice and morality. The Confucian concept of 𝐷𝐸 or virtue underscores the idea that true power comes from moral authority, not from brute force or coercion. Confucius believed that the best leaders are those who lead by example, who inspire others through their own actions, rather than through fear or manipulation. He who exercises government by means of his virtue may be compared to the North Star, Confucius said. It remains in its place while all the other stars turn toward it. This is the essence of 𝐷𝐸, the quiet, steady strength that comes from living with integrity. It's the kind of power that doesn't need to shout or demand attention because it naturally commands respect. Confucius understood that living with integrity requires constant self-reflection and self-discipline. He taught that we must always strive to improve ourselves, to become better, more virtuous individuals. This process of self-cultivation is known as xiushen, the practice of self-cultivation. It is the recognition that moral integrity is not something we are born with, but something we must work on throughout our lives. Confucius believed that the key to self-cultivation was humility and a willingness to learn from others. When we see men of a contrary character, he said, we should turn inwards and examine ourselves. This is perhaps one of the most challenging aspects of living with integrity, the constant need for self-examination and the courage to admit our own shortcomings. It's easy to point fingers at others, to blame the world for our problems, but true integrity requires us to look within and take responsibility for our own actions. It requires us to ask ourselves difficult questions. Am I living in accordance with my values? Am I treating others with the respect and compassion they deserve? Am I acting with integrity even when it's difficult? In a world where moral compromises are often rewarded, Confucius' teachings remind us that integrity is not just a personal virtue, but a public responsibility. When we live with integrity, we not only improve ourselves, but also contribute to the greater good. We become role models for others, and we help create a society that values honesty, justice, and compassion. Let's take a moment to reflect on the Confucian concept of 𝐷𝐸, or wisdom. 𝐷𝐸 is not just intellectual knowledge, but the ability to discern what is right and act on it. It's about knowing when to speak and when to stay silent, when to act and when to refrain from action. 𝐷𝐸 is the wisdom to see beyond the surface of things, to understand the deeper implications of our actions, and to choose the path of integrity, even when it is not the easiest path. The wise man is never confused, Confucius said. The virtuous man is never anxious. Confucius believed that wisdom and virtue go hand in hand. To be truly wise is to live a life of integrity, to act in accordance with one's values and to make decisions that are not only beneficial to oneself, but to the greater good. This is the essence of Confucian ethics, the understanding that our actions have consequences, not only for ourselves, but for the world around us. When we act with integrity, we create a ripple effect that extends far beyond our own lives. We inspire others to do the same, and in doing so, we contribute to the creation of a just and moral society. Integrity, therefore, is not a passive state, but an active, living force within us. It is the quiet, steady resolve to make ethical decisions in every moment, no matter how difficult the circumstances. Every time we choose to act with integrity, we strengthen our character, fortify our inner being, and lay the groundwork for a more just and compassionate society. As we consider the implications of moral integrity in our lives, it's essential to acknowledge that the journey of self-cultivation is continuous. Just as a tree requires nurturing to grow strong and healthy, we must also cultivate our moral integrity with intention and diligence. This involves daily practices of reflection, humility, and an unwavering commitment to self-improvement. Confucius emphasized that integrity is not something we achieve once and for all, but something we must work on every day. He said, "The superior man is distressed by his lack of ability, not by the failure of others to recognize him." This highlights that moral integrity is a personal responsibility, not dependent on external validation. Our journey toward integrity begins within, through small but significant acts of kindness, empathy, and honesty. Today, the challenges of living with integrity are more complex than ever before. We are constantly bombarded with messages that encourage self-interest over community, convenience over morality, and shortcuts over diligence. These distractions can weaken our moral compass, tempting us to compromise our integrity for momentary gains. Yet it is precisely in these moments that our commitment to moral integrity is tested. As Confucius said, "He who conquers himself is the mightiest warrior." The real battle lies not with the outside world, but within ourselves. In the modern world, success is often measured by wealth, status, and power. But these are fleeting. True success is measured by the strength of our character and our commitment to doing what is right, even when it is difficult. Confucius reminds us that the only lasting legacy we leave behind is the integrity with which we live our lives. When we face the choice between moral compromise and integrity, we must remember the long-term consequences of our actions. Moral integrity provides a foundation upon which we build a life of meaning, connection, and honor. As we stand at the crossroads of choice, it is clear that moral integrity is not just a lofty ideal, but a powerful force that defines the quality of our existence. Every decision we make, every action we take, contributes to the legacy we leave behind. Confucian wisdom teaches us that true strength does not come from dominance or success measured by worldly standards, but from the courage to live by our values, to remain steadfast in our ethics, and to lead by example. This is the path of the true warrior, the quiet hero who builds a life of honor, not by grand gestures, but through consistent, everyday actions rooted in integrity. In a world that often rewards shortcuts and self-interest, let us be the ones who stand firm, who choose the hard road of righteousness, and who, through our actions, inspire others to rise with us. The power to change the world begins within each of us, through the simple, yet profound decision to live with unwavering moral integrity. Thank you for joining me today as we explored the core of Confucian ethics through the lens of moral integrity. If you found value in this discussion, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. Your engagement helps us reach more seekers of wisdom and truth. Explore our other videos for more insights on how to cultivate a life of purpose, discipline, and moral integrity. Until next time, champions, stay strong and stay committed to your path.